called innovation platforms. Is that people create a platform, they don't always know what it's going to be used for. I'm assuming, so, you know, I don't think when people created the WhatsApp messaging platform, they knew that South Africa would have operating it. They hadn't anticipated that niche use, but they did enable it. And that's where a lot of the innovation can ministers ministering to people using WhatsApp, you know, with their some of the more niche. You have a lot of that were enabled. So those digital platforms have actually dominated value creation for the last 10 years. What they do is they build these useful communities, and they harness the network effect of those communities. The more buyers you have, the more sellers you have, and it's self-reinforcing. They drive innovation, as I've said. Often, Airbnb was started. They extract value, and this is and so they're really manifesting the information age, and they use recommendations, insights, etc., to add further value, and they disrupt industries. As we know, so a few examples, but we're all familiar. And the minister mentioned earlier the way has caused disruptions and even a pushback in the market. So even 10 years ago, not even recently, of the top 30 brands, global brands, and 3 of the top 5 US companies by market cap. In the past, it used to be companies like Coca-Cola or energy companies. They suddenly found all these platform companies moving in. Now, I talk about abundance, but there's also a concern, because the value in the United States, and if you look at the size of the company, so just to give you an idea, that Apple is on the market cap, even though it's now actually 2.8, but at the time. So different market shares of the, if you look at the top, so you'll see that Asia, the States, Europe much smaller. So even a society which is quite not able to get share, and then Africa is tiny, and are really, in my view, only on that graph because they've got shares in Tencent, which is a Chinese company. So where can we tap into value creation? And I've just very selected examples. One sectoral example, government and e-government. So the one I find the most fascinating and probably the best success story in South Africa, and still with a lot of upside, is the financial sector. Because the evolution of fintech in South Africa is actually astounding. Often people don't even appreciate. So it's not only in the type of financial services offered, but it's also the that are in some cases world class. And there have actually been 1 or 2 unicorns, dollar capitalization in South Africa and in Africa, so where one certainly would need to see how to develop further. And the great thing is it's embraced by government. So you see the Reserve Bank, National Treasury, working much more closely than in some other sectors to actually unlock this value. And then you have great investors, you know, the investment and investors have facilitated access to these startups. World recognized as being one of the premier places, which is strange because we're very much a dual economy, because on the cutting edge. But not all the solutions are with the wealthy group. Many of the solutions with the mass. So cash is still 80% of action. So most people in South Africa have a bank account, and that's quite an amazing feat that they are banked. but bank account to get the money at the end of the month and turn it into cash. So you'll see, like on taxis, cash is still king. Volumes of transactions every day. So there's still a lot of opportunities to move to a high level of digitization within the sector. And a lot of people depend on social grants for engagement with those individuals, at least on a monthly basis. The big area of is an informal sector which has many financial needs that are being tapped into but could still be further tapped into. So township economy is still saying well, partly digital and partly not. And there's a number of areas where demand is ordered, money transfers, many prepaid services. We take it for granted, I think, that when you have when you want to buy, you just get an SMS. And that's great because that enables South Africans, even with an old actually 60%. Sorry, the top line should say 60% make use of 2G phones, get the code, so they can also participate at that level. But you have big areas like the taxi industry do so much more. Fortunately, well, the COVID pandemic wasn't fortunate, but one of the outcomes was this inflection point in terms of people using digital commerce much more. It has partly been picked up, but could easily be picked up more. And what we're seeing is a convergence. So you're seeing the financial sector, you're seeing the mobile sector because the smartphones were. You're seeing the retail sector. If you think about the financial transactions, other than buying groceries that are going on, top retailers like Checkers, you'll see there's a great convergence and a lot of opportunity to unlock. You'll see these virtual network operators now, like Checkers and Pick and Pay, Bank, that are all moving into other spaces and learning how to unlock that. Then with smart government, it's about a long time. Actually, our first seminar, I think, was in 2000, our first seminar. And it means different things. But now we have urgent drivers for smart government. You've got rapid, sub-Saharan Africa is faster than anywhere else in the world. So you've got more and more people coming, needing to be serviced, diminishing resources even as those populations grow. You've got threats of climate change, the need for sustainable solutions to those climate changes, and you've also got a need for safety requirements. So we haven't really seen as much development in this space as one has to think why. And I've done a plan, well, not with one municipality, so I realized what a big job it is. It's very complex. You need to have overall, there has to be budget allocated to smart city type activities. They often sit for Internet of Things or smart devices, etc. They're sort of hidden. So there's budgeting. The mind shift of procurement is still very much accountability, and of course you can understand why, because you can get into trouble as a there needs to be a balance of need to be developed. Now, just an example of the, I don't want to because load shedding at the moment is when you very consumers. And we talked about platforms. The shows how they've helped to wheeling, where you're buying and selling. It's a very up with the world's best. An example. If you want to actually choose, you can choose what mix, which is very much what is to crisis and private sector collaboration, different tiers of government. What type of need? Ideas, but open source, moving away from practices, not part of the essence of the plan. And this is, if you look of many countries or ships, if you look at mobile partnerships, 5G partnership, you can't just plug and expect. Not so much the visions in the mid-band spectrum, high reliability type. Will definitely be partnership. Know when to deliver, because platforms are about as a platform. As a just how would one work if the interest digital one, but the more value you have, needs to be developed. Platform economy. They had an Amazon for being too share for us get shared, and there needs to be far more. You have to combine long-term stability. A few things. And the last said we're going to open this, and people were in shock. And the government in the meeting, and you have ability specifically Singapore, how to become related to that, which I understand how to, that's part of the. Now looking at South Africa, my 20 to all the many South Africans are engaged because they get with. So that's a huge thinking. And also remarkable, and I don't the immunization, every citizen, kings with managed. It wasn't a trivial experiment under pressure, and demonstrate a much broader. So there are many digital programs who are cradle to grave, which involves of which the integrated justice and that whole cluster centrally need to be landed, because that us what information can lead to. So there needs to be participation, need to be reality of it easy. I mean, and you want to get process. It's been for young older people. Take days, or even in my case, 5 years. Digitalization is records a huge difference, which has been going. I think was to have when I know and be done that central, and then that I wanted to make sure, and I know CETA's about not sort of my conference platform. Mention that we use as examples buy and sell in Canada. There's cloud service, intelligence, but also, and I think that it happened so quickly when completely blows is actually edited got a press a little bit, did report sold on it. The word also video art essays used it. I think if you haven't, please. That's game changing. Because and to